All right, so you've studied this in school, but evolution means we came from monkeys, apes, and then there were different species of humans, and eventually the best, our species, the Homo sapiens, won out. Okay? So what evolution says is that we are just a monkey, guys, okay? We're just a monkey. And what do monkeys do? Monkeys like to have sex, monkeys like to eat, monkeys like to fart. That's all we are. We're just monkeys. All right? And this is the evolutionary tree of primates. But there are certain problems with this theory. Okay? The first problem is, if you look at evolutionary theory, what you should have is tremendous diversity as this species develops. But so why is it that we only have one human species? Okay? Why aren't there many different ones? Well, the argument is that there were many different species before, but we won out. Okay? Okay, that's fine. But another problem is, why are we going all around the world? Okay? So all species of human beings like to migrate. But primates don't do that. Why is that humans like to migrate? And so the explanation often is, well, because of climate change, because of war, because humans are chasing game, okay, bisons and food. But then how to explain these people, okay? These are people who went to populate the Pacific Islands, Micronesia. That's kind of weird. First of all, it's really dangerous to go out to the Pacific for months and months, right? Also, like, how do they know that there'll be islands waiting for them in the Pacific? So that's something that's very odd about human beings. In fact, there are lots of things that are really odd about us that other animals don't do. For example, we're very religious, okay? Okay, so the Neanderthals are supposed to be before Homo sapiens, but as you can see, what we've discovered are these religious ritual sites that Neanderthals, where the Neanderthals engage in religious ritual practice. That's kind of weird. What does religion have to do with survival? In fact, you can argue that religion is a waste of time. Why aren't they hunting? Why are they using so much resources and time in building these ritual sites? Okay? Homo sapiens did cave paintings. And these cave paintings, I will show you later on, they're extremely elaborate. As you can see, it's very time-consuming to actually do these paintings. Also, these paintings are in caves, deep inside caves that's very cold, and where there isn't much air. So it's kind of dangerous, actually, to be in these places. But we know that Homo sapiens spent a lot of time in these deep, wet caves drawing these paintings. That's not very utilitarian. Why would we do that? So that's a mystery. Okay? Also, when we drew on caves, we figured out how to make it artistic. So we figured out that red ochre would give us red, yellow pigment on the caves. We also used charcoal to use black. Okay? So we were very creative. We were very resourceful. All right, so we know a lot about the Ice Age because, as you can imagine, during the Ice Age, things freeze over, so they can be easily preserved. And actually, for most of human history, we were in the Ice Age period. Okay, and as you can see, during the Ice Age, the entire world was basically frozen over. So how did we survive? Well, we survived by using the resources around us. Okay, so this is a mammoth. And so they killed a mammoth and they turned the mammoth into a house. Okay? Now the question is, how did they know how to do that? How did they figure it out? And we've been trying for a long time to figure this out, but my answer to you, and this is a theme that I will keep on emphasizing throughout the rest of the semester, is they just knew it. Okay? So let's do a thought experiment. Let's just say that there's 10 of us, and I give you this wall, right? And I say to you, you cannot talk, you cannot communicate with each other. All I want you to do is draw a picture. Now you would think that the picture would be disgustingly ugly. It would be incoherent. But if you actually do this experiment, something weird and wonderful would happen, okay? There's 10 of you, you're not communicating, you don't have a plan, there's no draft, but one of you would draw something, okay? And then the rest of you would see that something, and then you would draw something else, okay? So for example, maybe you draw a sun, then you draw a tree, then that other person draws a mountain, okay? It's almost like telepathy. And that's how we are. If you put humans in a group, they would know instantly how to work together. And they would know how to share ideas together. And so that's the idea I want to present to you. All this stuff is, all this is because of intuition, okay? No one said, hey, there's a mammoth, let's go kill it for food and for housing and for clothing. But if you walk together and you saw a mammoth, all of you together had the same thought. Oh, that could be a source of food and clothing and shelter for us. And you all knew how to work together. That's the beauty of the human imagination and the human empathy. And that's something that back then they practiced a lot, but we've lost because of civilization. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? All right. And as you can see, back then, humans were just very good at working together. No, you didn't need to have a boss to say, okay, you should go and hunt bisons. You should go and you should make clothes. You should go and you should feed kids. Everyone knew exactly what to do. And you didn't have to communicate. But also what's really interesting about this time period is the diversity of human organization. So what I mean by that is that in different times of the year, in different locations, humans would form different organizations. So most of the time, maybe there'd be groups of like 5 to 10 who would go and get food, okay? But then you have some times of the year when you have these religious festivals where hundreds, possibly thousands got together and you celebrated your God together. It was all intuitive. You didn't have communication, but they all knew at what time, what organization would best fit them. If you didn't like the situation, guess what? You'd go somewhere else and start your own organization. Okay? So early human history, it's a very diverse, very dynamic, very creative period in our lives, even though we've forgotten about it. Okay? And the clearest example of our creativity are these cave paintings that were discovered recently, but which date back 30,000, 40,000 years. Okay? You can see how beautiful these paintings are. Whoever painted these paintings put a lot of care and devotion into them, okay? It's not just kids playing. It's adults who've spent a long time purposefully ensuring that every detail is exact, okay? Then the question then is, how do they do this? Because there's no paper, there's no planning. And again, I present to you the idea, the imagination. They dreamt this. They had a dream, they saw the picture in their heads, and they went and drew this in a cave because they wanted to express themselves. They wanted to leave a legacy. They wanted to leave a memory. There's a calling in you to be creative and to be imaginative. Okay? All right. So, and you can see there's a lot of diversity. This is a story, right? Because you have these horses, but then you have these predators, lions. Okay? So this picture is telling a mythology. It's telling a story of how nature works. Okay, so people are observing nature, and what they see is a cycle of life and death, of destruction and renewal. We're all together. We're all unified. We're all one. It's balance and harmony. And that's why if you were to kill these animals, you also had to commemorate them. Okay, does that make sense? Okay? Because this is a word of balance and harmony. If you kill these animals and you eat their food, you must thank them for their sacrifice by commemorating them. It's the same thing as later on, when humans fight in battles, we build monuments to celebrate those who were fallen, right? Because we want to create balance and harmony in the world. We want to commemorate those who made our lives possible. Okay? So in this world, what matters are these animals, because these animals are what gives humans food and clothing.